Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. As you can tell from the intro, I am preparing for my subscriber pick. I just decided on the fabric, so I'll share that with you in a moment. So this video is a little bit of a kind of a chit chat and what I'm working on and that type thing, but I want to give my little 2 cents on the whole that nobody asked for on the whole JoAnn Fabrics closing and what I plan to do, or my thoughts, at least from my perspective on it. So yeah, I am, for those who don't know, Vogue 1940 is the pattern that is the pattern in focus, and also the subscriber pick for the month of March. And I have decided I am going to do this version, which is sleeveless. It's termed as sleeveless. And the fabric that I decided to use, I had to make sure I had enough for this, because believe it or not, for that top, the sleeveless top, it calls for about 3.5 yards of fabric, and it also called for like 1 3/4 yards of lining, but I wanted to use the same fabric for lining, which meant I need to at least have like 4 or 5 yards of fabric in order to do that. So I do have that amount of fabric, and I'll show that fabric to you in a moment. But one of the things, and you saw that at the time I'm recording this, you'll see the reveal of this. It should be the final Wednesday. I think there's a Wednesday, or it's next week Sunday. I'm sorry, next week Sunday. You should see the reveal of this. So stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe so you can see how this turned out. But I have everything paper clipped together. You saw me use my jumbo acrylic clips. This is the dress form one. So if you, for those who are new to the channel, I sell these on my website. Jumbo acrylic jumbo clips. These are, it comes with this one, which is a dress form, and then sewing machine. And so you can see those on the website. Link will be down below. So I went ahead and cut everything out and wanted to put everything together and then figure out what the fabric choice was going to be. And so let me say this, the fabric I have decided, if you all remember, I was so excited about using this fabric. This came from JoAnn Fabrics. This was the wide width cotton over in the quilt section. You know, they had the wide width 108, is it 108 or 106 yards? I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's where I got this. And I was making a dress last summer for my anniversary. That didn't work out, and so instead of ruining all of the fabric, I unpicked all the skirt pieces for that garment. And this was the bodice piece that was left over that I leave like this because I figure I can still use it for something, but I wanted to leave it intact so I know which way was the grain line on these, since these were smaller pieces. I didn't want to disturb that. So I am going to use this because I purchased a good 6 yards of that 108 wide width fabric, so I have more than enough to make that top, and I think it should be really pretty. And what I was thinking can go with it, I want some shorts. I wouldn't mind some shorts and maybe this darker pink color. I already have a Love Notion skirt, which is in a purple denim, which is more closer to the purple in here, in a denim skirt that perhaps I can wear the top with. We shall see, but that is the fabric I am going to use. And so it had me thinking about a couple things. Now, at the time that I'm recording this, it's quite a few days before the end of the month. However, you all know, for those who follow, I do the pattern and focus. This would have been coming up on the 3rd year I've been doing it, where every month the goal was to get through my commercial patterns. And so every quarter I would choose a new pattern company. So it will be Vogue. Now it's Vogue for this first quarter. It could be Simplicity, I'm Looking McCall's. It could be Know Me, what I got over here, New Look Butterick, something like that. And so that's what I will focus on that quarter. And every quarter, every month, I would then put a poll up on my community tab, and you all would pick the pattern to do for that month. Well, last year, fast forward, remember in 2024, I did a pattern no buy. I didn't buy any commercial. I didn't buy any indie patterns. I tested patterns. I tested indie, but I didn't purchase any patterns. I didn't purchase any patterns, and that was purposeful because I really wanted to get through my stash. That really helped me get through my stash and see what I have, see what I like, what I didn't like. And so you would have seen some of those videos. Feel free to go back to the channel and go through those. So a couple things that popped up. Now that JoAnn's is closing, one of the reasons I frequented JoAnn's, and this was when I lived in Wisconsin, and it didn't change when I moved down here to Texas. I frequently went to JoAnn's for pattern sales because they were $1.99. I'm not paying for shipping. I can just drive there, get the patterns. I also went there for if I needed a zipper. I ran out of zipper, or I needed heat bond, something quick that I needed, thread even though I typically buy my thread on Wawac. By the spools. If for whatever reason I hadn't checked my inventory or whatever and I needed something quickly, that's what JoAnn's was for. The other reason I went to JoAnn's was also for interfacing. I would get the Pellon. Now I've used interfacing from other companies, as you all know, but mainly that was interfacing for making bags. And so I do know you can get the other interfacing, garment interfacing, from Wawac as one place. There are also shops on Etsy. I have not purchased personally any from shops on Etsy, but I know a lot of people have talked about that. And so and then of course the cottons. That was one thing I would maybe run to JoAnn for, is in the quilt cotton section. They would have some fun linings that I would use maybe for handbags, wallets, maybe something like that every now and again. And then for my other business, I would definitely go to JoAnn's to use, grab a couple things here and there for things I wanted to make there. So now that JoAnn's is closing, that will no longer be an option. However, I am not dismayed by it, other than all of the jobs that will be lost. Reading and hearing about people losing their jobs is just not something that, I mean, who enjoys that? Seeing people lose their jobs and different things of that nature. So that's the downside for me, is that, you know, I don't like seeing that. I do know it is the nature of how things unfolded for JoAnn Fabrics. Outside of that, when it comes to those things I just mentioned, zippers, notions, sewing notions, different things of that nature, I get those from Wawac online, have been for quite a few years. And then little things from other different online small business shops. I'm a small business owner, so I don't mind shopping online. Never have minded shopping online. I began shopping more frequently online many years ago and found that I love the fabric much better. Now, I know there's this whole sensory thing where people like to touch, to feel. One of the things that I did, and perhaps you can check for the shops online, I'm used to shopping online now, so I don't feel like I necessarily need this anymore, and that is fabric swatches. Some fabric companies online, I know Fabric Mart did this. They used to have a swatch club. I don't know if it's still around or not. I haven't the slightest idea. But they used to offer swatch clubs where they would send different packs of swatches. I know Mood have swatches. A lot of online shops offer swatches. So ask for swatches of the main types of fabrics that you use to see if it will work for you. And yes, there are so many. Google here, or maybe search YouTube, even Google. I'm sure somebody has a blog post, but there are so many online shops. I myself have a video here on YouTube, top 10 online shops that I enjoy shopping at, that also have wide width fabric, being more plus size, and maybe for certain garments needing more fabric to make that garment. I'd rather deal with a company that sell wider width fabric, so I can get more pieces on there and kind of figure out how I want to lay out a pattern based on the width of the fabric. And so I'll leave that linked in the description box below. I'll pop it up in the iCard, probably even pop up at the end of this video. And so for me, it is just, I mean, I can probably count on one hand how many fabrics that's sitting over here in my fabric stash that I got from JoAnn's. I get pretty much everything online. Again, when I pop in JoAnn's, if I needed any of those things that I've mentioned, I will go in the fabric section just to see. One of the things I did get a lot from, I will say JoAnn, quite honestly, was the denim. Not that Lucky brand denim. When I saw that in JoAnn's, what was that, a year or two ago, I was like, what is this? Who's paying for that? But their other denim, the patchwork denim, loved that denim. But again, with some research, that can be found, I'm sure, online somewhere else through a different distributor. I know the change, one of the big changes with, you know, going strictly online, if you don't want to visit your local other fabric stores, some areas have beautiful fabric stores. New York, LA, Philadelphia, Chicago, Dallas. Houston, we have not as many as I would think we would based on the size of Houston. You would think we would have a whole fabric row somewhere, but we do not. There are a couple fabric stores, and I will be doing more research on the ground here for a couple that have newly opened. But yeah, it's just shop local, shop online, take those recommendations from those you see, your favorite YouTubers that you know and trust. And for those who follow me, you know, when I do hauls, I always share where I got fabric from. So, and a lot of those places are just repeat online places that I have found that I liked their fabric. I like the quality of their fabric. I mean, just looking at the stash, I can tell you one I buy from a lot, but she's also local. But she sells online, is Roz from So Much Fabric. Beautiful fabrics. And when you shopping online, yeah, you might have to spend a little bit more per yard due to the quality of the type of fabrics that they have. Not to say just because the online shop fabric is not priced higher doesn't mean it's not quality. I'm not saying that, but it just depends on the type of fabric that you're looking for. Fabric Wholesale Direct, I'm looking at quite a few pieces I've gotten from there. Of course, I get a lot of Ankara from House of Mami Wata. Different places like that. Yeah, you just have to trust those that maybe you follow online and on social media, YouTube, whatever the case may be, their suggestions, and just give it a try. Give it a try. Again, for me, I'm not dismayed in that way because I've been an online shopper of fabric for many years and I don't mind it. Again, it's just the closure of all these stores, which means loss of jobs and different things of that nature. And I will say my most recent trip into JoAnn's, the sales weren't great. Although I just saw an email that popped up that things are going up to 50% off. I guess maybe over time. At the time I went to JoAnn's, I'll pop up a clip. There wasn't, I mean, it was 20% off fabrics and stuff like that. And I'm thinking that's not a deal. Even 30% off some fabrics I didn't think was a deal. But then they had, you know, 30%, 20% off of different things here and there. And so I imagine as it gets closer to when the stores are gonna shutter permanently, which I don't know. I don't know the date of that. I imagine as it gets closer to that, those percentages off will increase. But it brings me back to patterns. I'm thinking, I have a few days to still think about it. But I'm thinking, and I'm looking at all my buckets. You all know how I have everything organized. But I'm thinking the pattern and focus, this might be the last quarter for it. Only because, one, now when I'm thinking about buying patterns, if I buy patterns, it's going to be through simplicity.com, which means I'll have to pay attention to their sales, of course, be on the list, you know, the email list and whatnot. So when they have sales, if there was some patterns I was thinking about, I can go ahead and throw them in my cart and get them at that time, which for me will slow me down on buying commercial patterns. I will admit that will kind of pump the brakes a little bit, in that maybe I'll pay it. I don't know right now the frequency in which simplicity.com run their sales. If they run them once a month or every other month, that's probably the frequency in which I'll look to see what I want and get them at that time. And so yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And so the pattern and focus, why I'm thinking that might end me doing that, is because quite honestly at this point, because I did a pattern no buy last year where I didn't buy any patterns, I have gotten through a majority of all those patterns over the past couple years doing this every quarter. And so there's not much left for me to really have a variety or for you all to vote on. So I'm thinking, maybe that I'll just end it. It'll just end in March. And we'll see if I think of something else to do that might replace that type thing. But right now, you all know my focus is on the shirt dresses. I probably won't have one in the month of March. Yes, I took a whole break the month of March from really making things, and it's more so because I had a lot of stuff to wrap up for BHM pattern designers, but also I'm like so excited to, that's what happens when you go to retreats. Speaking of which, if you are interested in attending the retreat that I host here in Texas and outside of Houston, the link will be down below. Registration is open, and so all of the information, questions you might have about the retreat is down in the description box. Click on the link, you'll see it. Go ahead and grab your spot for 2026. But I can tell you, coming back from the retreat, I'm like, ooh, I want to do this, ooh, I want to do that. But for me, I had to put a lot of that excitement on pause because I had a lot of administrative things that needed to be taken care of first. But now I get to work on this. I'm so excited about working on this. And also the pattern that I showed you that from the retreat, Isabel is doing a Zoom for all of us to go over like some of the other things that she didn't get a chance to hit during the retreat. So I'm excited about that. I'm looking forward to that Zoom. But yeah, oh, and plus there's an upcycle that Jen, you all know I follow Jen here, Jen Restyle and Fashion on YouTube. She's over on Instagram, but she sent all of the members a box of goodies. I've just washed all of the jeans that she sent. It was a couple pair of jeans, and then so this is going to be an upcycle with some jeans, these handles, and some pearls. And so you will have to wait and see what that is. I thought I probably get a chance to finish it by the end of the month, I'm thinking, but we shall see. We shall see. This was like the thing I was so ready because I received all this before, no, right after the retreat. And so after I got back, all these packages came and I was like, oh, I'm ready to jump in and get going. But I had to do all the administrative stuff. And now that all that administrative stuff is done, now I feel like, okay, I'm ready to get in the sewing room. I'm ready to create. And so I'm glad I took time to cut out all my pieces for that Vogue. The fabric, more than enough. I'm ready to start cutting that out. But yeah, that was just my 2 cents on JoAnn's, you know, for quilt cottons and things. I know there is Michael's Hobby Lobby for those. I'm just gonna put this out there. Yes, I understand somebody already left a comment about Hobby Lobby on another post I made. Do what each of you need to do for yourself in regards to what you want to purchase and where from the place you want to purchase from. Do your research, do your own research. And so, but the reality is many people will probably, in spite of certain circumstances, have to resort to those places on the ground if they for whatever reason don't want to shop online. But there's places, Nick of Time Textiles, different places, even Fabric Wholesale Direct do have like caricature or floral type cottons and stuff that you would see that you would use for your quilt making or different things of that nature. So definitely in the past never paid attention to those fabrics online, because I always shop for garment fabric online. I didn't shop for the quilt cottons online. I would just run to JoAnn's to get it. But my local, and that's not true, also my local quilt shop that I go to, where I got my machine service, that place, Sew Special Quilts. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Sew Special Quilts. They have really nice, actually that's how I discovered, that's how I found Shell Creative, Creativity by Shell. Her fabric line was at Sew Special Quilts, and so that's how I discovered her, by going there. So your local quilt shops, and yes, you're not going to get 40% off a yard and all this other different stuff. You're just going to have to get on everybody's email list and look out for the sales. That's it. Get on everybody's email list, look out for the sales, so you know when something comes up. And now for me, like I was just saying, Nick of Time Textile, Fabric Wholesale Direct, I wasn't looking at those sites for quilt cottons and you know, those kind of dainty prints and different things that I would use for lining and stuff like that. I would just go to those JoAnn's or the quilt shop. Now I'm gonna go to the quilt shop, but also filter on those Nick of Times, those Fabric Wholesale Direct, Cali Fabrics, places like that, to see if they do have different type of quilt cottons in and what kind of designs that they have. So yeah, my 2 cents that nobody asked for, but I thought I would share what I plan to do going forward. Yeah, and so far as patterns, like I said, I'll just have to see the frequency in which Simplicity.com run their sales. Maybe they will run them more frequently now that JoAnn's is no longer an option. But yeah, we shall see. And I know older patterns from, you know, some of the different lines are in Walmart, but those are ones that's usually, at least that I've seen, those are ones that have all been out of print. Hobby Lobby sell patterns too, if you choose to shop at Hobby Lobby. I went there maybe a month and a half ago, and the lady was telling me that they were going to be discontinuing the McCall's patterns there. And so right now, at the time, they were $3.99 when I went. I don't know what they are now. I haven't been back. But yeah, you know, do what you have to do for you and what makes sense for you. But anyway, that is it, everybody. I am going to get out of here. Have a few more things to do today, but I want to pop in and give my 2 cents that nobody asked for. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. What are you working on? I am so excited to get back to my sewing machines. So excited. All right, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for Wednesday's video, which I haven't the slightest idea what it's going to be, but we shall see. All right, everybody, have a blessed one, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.